was just so focused on this bigger picture vision of reforesting the planet. And if they would have understood, why I had to fire that person, or why I couldn't show up to their event, or why I couldn't do this, or why I couldn't do that, or why I had to do this, or I had to do that, it was because my focus and vision was on changing the planet, not this smaller thing that they thought was more important.
Are you ready?
Hey there, and welcome to Get Off the Bench, where we talk success, business, life, and how you can make your dreams into reality. Your coach is an international speaker, published author, business and speaking coach, known to his audiences as the Speaker Man. His dream is to move you from the bench to the starting lineup of life.
And here we are again, 47-yard try, his longest attempt of the game. He has missed his list.
Your man, this is your Kodak moment.
Hey, did you hear that? The game is about to start, and you need to get ready to get in the game.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Here's your coach, Mark Wiggins.
Hey everybody, it's me, Mark Wiggins. Welcome to Off the Bench with your host, Mark Wiggins. And today we have a guest on who is not only just making money, but also changing the world with a super product and a super concept that is changing and impacting globally the world. So as you know, I don't do bios, I don't do all that kind of stuff. I'm going to bring on our guest and have him discuss who he is, what he's been up to, and how he got to this moment right here. And we're also going to talk about his book that just came out. So you also can go out and get that book as well. Benjamin VandenWymelenbert. Did I kill it? Did I kill it?
It was close.
Ah,
it was close.
Dang it. So Benjamin,
it was close enough, man.
go ahead, tell everybody who you are and what you're up to.
Yeah, so my name is Ben. I grew up small town Wisconsin, came to the University of Minnesota, went to architecture school. My last year architecture school, started making wood phone skins and basically turned that into a multi-million-dollar business that has now reforested millions of trees on multiple different continents, and have started a couple different businesses since then. Realized through starting these businesses that if a broke-ass farm boy from Wisconsin can do it, anybody can do it. And I wanted to help other people start businesses. So I recently wrote a book that came out about 5 months ago now. It's a 9-time Amazon bestseller, and we actually just got published in China, which I'm super stoked about.
Oh, nice.
Called The World Needs Your Effing Ideas, all about how to start a business that can save the universe.
That is amazing. I was able to meet. I met Ben at the Atlanta Gift Mart, and we actually carry his product in our store. And I was wandering around, and there was a line of people giving away books. I'm always down for a free book, so I go jump in the line. Did not know who Ben was and what he was connected to, but I clearly saw the book and recognized who he was to this company that we support. So we got to chatting it up. He signs my book, and I was like, dude, I'm going to get you my podcast. And I use, Ben, since that moment, I carry my Zoom recorder with me now. And so when these moments pop, because we should have done this in the hallway, like right then. Because
absolutely.
Because people are busy.
I love it.
The energy around being impromptu is really hot. I did one in Vegas with some young sisters who were doctors and attorneys and whatnot, and it's doing very, very well on the podcast. Great information. So
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So your book is a great read, and you hit a lot of great points. And we won't go through all of it. We'll just hit some of the highlights of your book and give me your thoughts on it. But let's talk about the business. I know you mentioned you did the phone skins, and I read how that whole idea started and then really literally burned down, but then it got back on track. So
Yep.
What were like some of the things you early on that you learned about that process of starting this thing out?
Yeah, so early on, thankfully, we sat down. It was my buddy and I at the time, who's no longer with the company anymore, but we're super good friends. We sat down and we watched a Simon Sinek TED Talk called Start With Why. And it was basically, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And, we were sitting down there, and at the time I had sold, 15 or 20 of these phone skins, and I had just recruited my college buddy to help me start selling these things. Yeah, so my buddy and I had sold about 15 phone skins at the time, and we sat down and we watched this Simon Sinek TED Talk called Start With Why. And it was basically about the fact that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And we were sitting there like, hey, we don't want to make wood phone cases. We want to put nature back into people's lives, bring jobs back to the U.S., and bring quality back to products. And since we sat down and kind of solidified that vision, which is still the vision today, which I think is incredible, through all the ups and downs and everything we've gone through, that's still the vision today. And that's still the vision that the entire company kind of rallies around. We learned that we wouldn't have made it through all of the crazy stuff that we had gone through if we wouldn't have been super committed to that vision. Because multiple times, realistically, we probably should have said, oh man, we should just call this thing quits. This is just getting too ridiculous, and this is just not making sense. But we said, no, we're committed to this vision, and we're still making an impact from this vision perspective. So yeah, we might not have had a lot of sales, or we might have had a lot of failures in these different stores, but we were planting trees. We were bringing jobs back to America, and we were making some kick-ass quality products. So we stayed kind of committed to that, and just hunkered down and stayed on the track. I'm glad we did.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you bring up. Talk to me and my entrepreneur listeners and people who want to be entrepreneurs about the commitment to the vision. I think we get, like I said, things happen. We have setbacks. We have people who are in our ears that make us walk away from our dream. But speak to me more about your commitment, because you had a couple major setbacks on what you were trying to get done.
Yeah. So, I mean, once you set this vision, it's got to be ride or die. And one of the chapters in my book is commit or die. Mm-hmm. And I talk about a couple personal stories in my life where, I've had to commit to something, or I for sure would have died. And it's really the same in business. You have to have that level of intensity when you're thinking about what it is that you want to do. And if you want to have a positive impact on the planet, if you want to start a business, you have to have that level of intensity towards your vision and towards your mission, because you're going to encounter all kinds of stuff that you never thought in a million years you would encounter, and you're going to encounter all kinds of stuff that you never thought in a million years you could overcome. But if you stay committed to that vision and you have that level of intensity around your commitment for that vision and that mission, you'll make it through it.
Awesome. Now, what was the importance? I know you talked about the environment, but how did you even have that bend to be in tune to nature, to go back and plant trees? How did that even connect?
Yeah, so personally, I grew up kind of outside. My mom never let us have PlayStations or any kind of games, and we didn't have TV. So we had to go outside and we had to make our own games up. And we had an incredible amount of trees kind of behind our house growing up. And just being outside for me was something that, throughout my childhood and growing up, that I just found peace and kind of found serenity in. And that's something that I wanted. As I traveled around the world, I realized, this is something I want to help preserve for future generations, and kind of just solidified that passion in my mind, basically.
Right. And the name of your company is, what's the name of your company?
It's Woodchuck USA.
Woodchuck USA. And you make quality products. Let me just say that in our store, they came in kind of priced. I said, what in the world? Who's going to buy this? I said, did we reorder any yet? Have they really had, I'm talking to my manager, y'all reorder, because they're gone. They're absolutely gone. So
that's awesome.
Your product
That's
is
awesome.
Amazing. It does an awesome job, and everybody out there needs to go and definitely look that up and find a retailer for his product. That's awesome. Getting back to your journey, as you started to find your footing, or dig your roots in, if you will, what were some of the growing pains or things that you had to overcome? You scaled up, sounds like, pretty quickly when you hit your stride.
Yeah, man. I mean, so many things. I think the biggest thing, though, about all of these, whatever challenges or obstacles, is really how we decided to view them. And it really started, still with that why, and really the foundation of that why. But it all these crazy things came up. One of my chapters about getting sued for the first time, and how growing up I had this mindset of, oh my God, the people that get sued are just awful people, and they probably go to jail or prison, whatever. I didn't really have the perspective on what that meant. And I called my mentor, and I said, man, I just got sued for $1.5 million, just a ridiculous amount of money. And I said, it's done, it's over. I'm gonna go have to work at McDonald's. I mean, it's the end, man.
Right.
And he goes, Ben, congratulations. And I was like, what the? He's like, did he hear what I just said? Like, dude, I just got sued, man. Like, he's like, no, congratulations. And I was like, Ken, what are you talking about? He's like, do you know how many lawsuits the average billionaire deals with? 15 lawsuits at a time is what the average billionaire is dealing with at any time. He said, congratulations, you got your first lawsuit, you made it to the first level.
Jeez.
And I was able to like go from this dilapidated, totally shut down mindset of like my life is over to, oh my God, he's totally right. Like, yeah, like I've arrived. I've made it to the next level, and now I can, figure out whatever the next challenge is going to be. And I think that's the best. That's the best story that I think most potent story that I have that talks about. It's really not about the obstacle. It's about how you view it.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, I've had incredible people in my life and in my business journey that I've been able to surround myself with to help me get through these times and help shine some perspective light on these times. But it's really about how you view these challenges as actual opportunities during whatever it is that you're going through.
And again, like you said, you're talking about the mindset. If your mindset sees everything as a challenge or as an obstacle with no solution, then it's gonna be tough for you to grow. It has to have a challenge. If you change just the way you do, like for something simple, I did a lot with words and talking. So I used to do a to-do list, right? I had a to-do list, and I began to feel like my to-do list wasn't about crap. It was like, what is this about? And I recognized that the word was bothering me. The to-do list was not doing it. So I changed it to achievement list. So I had this thing called I did a podcast called Death to the To-Do List. And all of a sudden, the smallest of things was an achievement. It was a goal achieved. And you'll be amazed how much that changes, just that little bit. I wasn't successful today until you pull out the list. Oh, my God.
That's awesome, man.
I did a whole lot of good stuff today. So it is about how you view things and moving on as entrepreneurs. You've got to have that ability to be, tough-minded and tough-skinned to keep moving forward for your dreams.
I love it. That's awesome. That's
Definitely.
Awesome.
In your book, you were talking about networking. How did you use it, and how do you feel it? I think it's chapter 5. How do you use and integrate with networking?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing, or the biggest way that I've utilized networking is really about learning and really about growing. And understanding that there's no person that's untouchable, or there's no piece of knowledge that you can't gain, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I've kind of approached, whether it's mentors or people that I need to learn from, experts in whatever field that I'm trying to learn in, is really all about being the best question asker on the planet. And it's about, figuring out this way to ask questions. And I kind of, I walk through it in the book, but it's this way to ask questions that helps you break down barriers of other people,
mm-hmm.
and then get the information and really gain a lot of knowledge, but also communicate to them at the same time that you're genuinely interested in how they've built their life and how they've built their success and how they've gained the knowledge that they have. And you're hoping to gain or yearn at least some of that from them by asking these questions. And you think about creative questions that they probably haven't been asked before, prompted about, or things that, might actually make them think, because a lot of these people that, we think about asking questions to, the guys that are really good at sales or the guys that are really good at real estate or business or whatever the thing is, but these guys get asked the same question all the time, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
oh, how'd you start that? Or like, what is this or what is that? But if you can really dive down and figure out some like really cool core questions that these people have probably never been asked in their life, they're going to remember you. They're going to want to pour into you. They're going to want to divulge more information. And anyway, that's the way that I've approached most of the time when I'm trying to gain information in a new sector, a new field, or from a new person. I really try and think about what are some really unique, creative questions to kind of break them open and establish me as someone that's different.
That is huge. Yeah, networking is about the connection. It is about who you connected to. I mean, just for like a quick example, I'm sitting there talking to you. I use your product. I don't know who you are until this moment. Talking to your boy comes out, and all of a sudden we know the dude from Deneen Pottery. Like that's your boy. Like you guys kick it, and I know him. I'm like, I met him back, early on in the game, and he was like, oh my God, we're connected. I'm like, that's crazy. I mean, that's how. But it can be just as simple as who knows who somewhere else that can actually connect you to get the foot in the door or put you in a position to deliver. And I'm a firm believer that while there may be the ability to put you in front of someone, is incumbent upon you to make sure you stay in front of that person. You know what I'm saying? I can't expect someone because they open the door to keep me there, hold my hand. Well, that's not networking. That's doing a job for me. So
totally.
you have to be able to make sure that you are on your game so you can stay in front of someone as long as you can stay in front of them.
Totally.
So,
absolutely.
All right, so I got to ask you about chapter 6 in here. Sometimes you have to be an a-hole. What are you talking about? What is that?
Yeah, so I dive into that because there's this perception. So I grew up in a super small town in the Midwest, and there's a common saying in the Midwest, this idea of being super passive aggressive, or have you heard the phrase Minnesota nice before?
Yes.
So it's this idea that everyone in the Midwest is just nice to everybody no matter what. Like if somebody stabbed your brother, it doesn't matter. You're going to be nice to him anyway. It's this idea that you just have to be nice all the time and be pleasing to everyone. And I really had to separate from that idea when I started my business, because what I realized is that's not being honest, it's not being truthful, and it's not helping me build quality relationships that's going to help move this business forward. It was kind of fake, actually, and in my perception of it was, I'm turning into an asshole. And the reality was, I wasn't turning into an asshole. I was just telling people the truth. So I then dive into selfish versus selfless. And so, the Merriam-Webster definition of selfish is doing something for one's own good or one's own success. And then selfless is doing something without your own success or satisfaction in mind. It's something like that. And I think people really get confused if they don't understand your vision or your mission or what your kind of goals are, and how it might seem like you're an asshole, but really you're just focused on the bigger picture. And I dive into a couple different examples through my life where people looked at me probably from the outside because they didn't see the vision or the mission as clearly as I did, and probably said, "Man, this dude's a dick. This dude's a jerk, right? This dude's an asshole." But really, my focus was just so focused on this bigger picture vision of reforesting the planet. And if they would have understood, why I had to fire that person, or why I couldn't show up to their event, or why I couldn't do this, or why I couldn't do that, or why I had to do this, or I had to do that, it was because my focus and vision was on changing the planet, not this smaller thing that they thought was more important than that. And a lot of times it comes down to communication and being able to communicate that. One of the stories I dive into was I had this operations guy, and I had a team of about 10 or 12 people that were doing manufacturing at this point. And long story short, the guy just failed over and over and again. And I realized that if I don't get someone better to operate this thing, business is going to go under.
Right.
So I said, I got to get rid of this guy. So at the time, which HR wise wasn't the best thing to do, but it was in my mind, what I was thinking was the best thing. I was like, I'll get rid of him. I'll fire him on a Sunday. Is that way he can have the whole weekend and be, happy throughout the weekend. He doesn't have to be pissed over a weekend, and he doesn't have to come to work on a Monday. Right. For me and my logic, I'm like, this is good. My vision of reforesting the planet and connecting people to nature wouldn't have been able to exist if this guy stayed on. I mean, we were going to go to business if this guy stayed on the team. And all 10 people under him loved this guy, and they loved him because he didn't really make him work. He kind of just let him hang out, right? So when I fired him on Monday, everyone comes in and they're just super pissed that I fired this guy. And what I didn't divulge to them or couldn't communicate clear enough was, hey, if I would have kept this guy, no one would have had jobs because we were going to go under. Like, I had to get someone that could operate this better. And but what happened instead was every person, one by one, in our Monday morning meeting said, "Ben, I think you're an asshole. I'm quitting." And I had 10 of the 11 people quit that day. And the one guy that stayed, Mitch, who is now our director of operations, which is so it's kind of a funny full circle story. But they couldn't see the bigger picture or vision of wanting to keep all of them employed, so getting rid of this guy. What they saw was Ben's a selfish asshole that just got rid of this guy. And Josh is such a nice guy. This guy was such a nice guy. All he cares about himself. And really, I cared about all those people and wanting them to keep their jobs. So I dive into a couple more stories, but I think it's really important to understand what your own goals are as well, because you're going to have to make hard decisions that are going to piss people off when you start a business, and especially when you start to have employees, and especially when you start to do bigger contracts, stuff like that. You're going to have to make these hard decisions, and to check yourself to make sure that you are on the right track, to make sure that you're not being an asshole. You need to really check yourself and say, is this in line with my vision? Is this in line with my mission? Am I doing this for the right reasons? And I think it's just a good checkpoint.
You make some very great points about being selfish, and it's hard to. You almost have to separate when you make a move to be an entrepreneur or a business person or whatnot, or focus on a goal. You're right. Something has to go away, and you can't maintain the same lifestyle you had or same life circles you kept. And you mentioned that in the book a little bit about who you surround yourself with, and move forward, because everyone's not riding with you. Everyone is okay with you. They want to see you succeed to a point, but everyone's not riding with you. And my dad told me this a long time ago when we had our cookie store. He goes, no one will have as big a dream about your business than you. So you can't expect everybody to have that, but you need to know that. Like, everybody should be excited about these doggone trees, dude. I don't even like nature. I'm here because this is a great job. I'm here because I'm getting paid. But I do good work. So you have to do that, and requires to be selfish with your time. And I speak about that as well. And people kind of go, "Oh my God, you call me selfish." I said, you need to be. At some point, you have to give to yourself, because you're giving to everybody, and then you don't have anything for what you need to do. So that resonated with me when I read your book. And we're going to, as we wrap this down a little bit, I want you to just give me the biggest story thing I took out of this book was not the whole jail situation, but was actually the climb on the mountain to the top, and that whole mental mind push. Man. How big was that on how you approach life now? How big was that moment?
Dude, so, I've done some crazy stuff in my life. I've been on the verge of death quite a few times. I've been to jail in 3 different countries. I've pushed the boundaries in a lot of areas, and never to this day, actually still, have I been more physically and mentally pushed in my entire lifetime than in those moments on Mount Rainier. And it absolutely translates into everything that I do, and just furthers my passion for the things that I do, because I have that same level of kind of ride or die passion for the things that I do. And I don't want to do things unless I have that level of, passion for them. But for me, that is still hands down the hardest physical and mental thing that I've ever done.
Absolutely. And then at the other side of it is like, if I could do, you get to the, if I can do that, and I can, and you're absolutely right. You can.
Totally. Totally.
Go ahead and I got one last major question to ask. I ask all my guests this question, but before that, I want you to drop any of your social media where people can find you, follow you, get your book, all of that. So go ahead and drop that in there.
Yeah, totally. So the website is benvw.com. So it's super easy. My last name is so ridiculously long, but you can find my Instagram handle on there, all my other social media. You can also find the link to my book and my audiobook, which, Mark, did you check out the audiobook yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. I gotta say, if I think you're going to like it. We did it podcast style. So I read it with my buddy who I started it with.
Nice.
We did it podcast style. We break out a couple different times. Are you a David Goggins fan?
Yes.
Okay. So we did it very similar to how his book is, where he breaks out into a couple sessions and breaks down in kind of podcast styles each chapter. So check out the podcast. You can also find that on the website, benvw.com.
Nice. Thanks so much for that. And definitely we'll put that up in our show notes. So here's the last question for you, Ben. I want to know, I talk a lot about getting off the bench and into the starting lineup of life. So my question to you is, what do you do daily to stay in the starting lineup of life?
Dude, that's a great question. That is honestly a great question. So one of the things, and this has absolutely changed for me, or this kind of has morphed for me in the past few years. One of my things is I need a high level of mental and physical stimulation to kind of feel like I'm still progressing in life. So my routine has become a really important part of my life. So I wake up every morning at 5:30. I work out at 6:15. I have 3 guys that I work out with every single morning. We do an insane workout for about an hour. And then I start my day. I don't email at all until after 4:30 p.m. So I can show up for my team, so I can show up for my goals, so I can show up for the things that I need to accomplish and want to accomplish for my team and my goals, etc. And then after 4:30 p.m. is when I start emailing. So for me, how do I stay in the game? How do I stay sharp? It's working out. It's staying in this routine. It's making sure that I'm focused on my goals. One of the things that I came out with after the book is called Mere Motivation. So when I go and I speak, I basically have this card called Mere Motivation. Mark, I'll send you a couple of them.
I appreciate it.
It's basically this little chart thing that you can stick on your mirror, whatever, and it's got real clear, hey, what are my goals for the year? Who are the 7 people that I'm surrounding myself with to get to those goals? And what's my personal and business why? It's all on one card. And at the bottom of it, it talks about taking one step towards those goals every single day. What did you do today that got you closer to your goals? You know, one of my personal goals, Mark, is becoming a pilot. And that's one of the goals I had for the year. And I've been working my ass off on top of running these other companies to get to the flight center, to study, to sit down, to go get up in the air and get my flight time. And I take my test next Wednesday. If I wouldn't have this this Mere Motivation card, and I wasn't looking at that every day of, hey, one of my goals for the year is to get my pilot's license, I would be nowhere close to getting that license because I wouldn't be looking at it every day and taking one step towards that every day. As small as that step might be, it might be looking at some shit online. It might be Googling some stuff and learning a little bit more about something. It could be making a phone call. It could be super, super small. But the biggest thing is taking that one step every single day.
Got to get a little amped up there, didn't you, Ben? Got a little amped. I hear you, bro. I love it, love it. Hey, again, Ben, thank you for your time. I know you were on a tight schedule, so thank you for squeezing me in. I look forward to catching up with you again in Atlanta, wherever you may be. If you come to D.C., you got to hit me up.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
I do, but let me know when you guys play golf. I would love to come out there and get with you and my other dude and play some golf. That would be hot out there.
Let's do it.
In Midland. And lastly, thank you for taking care of my staff that night in Atlanta. I heard it was epic. Dude, we won't get into it.
Yeah. We'll talk about that offline.
Oh, right. I heard it was epic.
It was epic. And, hey, text me your address. I want to send you some of those Mere Motivation cards.
I appreciate it. Hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in to Off the Bench, Mark Wiggins, and my guest today. And remember, if you can reach your dreams with a step ladder, then they're probably too low. I'm out.
Thank you for listening to Off the Bench with your coach, Mark Wiggins. Be sure to like, comment, and share this podcast, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at SpeakerMan87. And be sure to use the hashtag #GetOffTheBench to let Mark know you're listening. When it comes to success, only you can give yourself the permission you need to have the success you desire. Now get off the bench and get in the game.